Fortune Favors the Prepared Mind, Part 2. It's 1977. I'm on the road, Fort Myers, Florida, with Jason. We're doing a 2-day total immersion into the Jennings system. Day 1 went terrific. They loved Jason's 9-hour workshop on growing solutions. Now, it's early, Day 2. The 12-month company roadmap gets done on Day 2. The boss is with us eating his favorite old-timey Southern Florida breakfast, grits. He looks at me and says to Jason, do we need him here with us today? No, Jason says. He saw revenue forecasting last week in Winter Haven. Great. I want him to go with my guys and ride along as they do those first solution sales calls. So out I went with Bob Mueller. Bob looked exactly like you think. He's 50 years old. He's tall, too tan, with a white belt and white shoes. We're in his client's office. In 6 minutes, Bob looks over at me with panic in his eyes. He didn't know what to ask next. Larry, do you have any questions? Okay. Yes. And I started jamming, doing what Jason said to do in the Day 1 workshop. Well, it was amazing. For both of us, it worked exactly like Jason said. Now, when Bob hands me off after that call to the next guy, he says, Saul, don't worry. If you get stuck, just say, hey, Larry, you got any questions? And he'll make it all work. And I did, all day long. I was pretty excited. But here's the rest of the story. I didn't realize that I was too caught up in the thrill of victory. Same as Bob, same as Saul, and same as their boss, Mr. Grits. That very sunny morning in South Florida, talking to a car dealer, who, by the way, was also awfully tan, with a white belt, with the white shoes. Talking to him that morning, I realized I had stumbled on the perfect growth strategy. How 2 rambunctious rule breakers could build a multi-million-dollar consulting company. What was the strategy? Just do it, just like Jason said. So, let me ask you, could you picture Bob? Did he have a full head of hair, or was it thinning? Did he wear sunglasses? How about Mr. Grits? How about anything about Fort Myers, circa 1977? Now, what more do you now know about me? Does anything stand out? Anything unique? Anything you like? Anything that reminds you of a time maybe in your life when you got stuck? Anything that makes you conclude something good about me? I didn't say any of that. I didn't say any of those things. I just told you a story. See, stories get you to picture a lot more than the facts of the story. After we wrote, It's Not the Big That Eat the Small, It's the Fast That Eat the Slow, and we amazed everybody with the success of that book, we decided to ask lots of people what they liked, what they remembered, what they used, and the answer was always the same. Stories. Stories, 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 stories. Telling a good story is more powerful than any clever title, any revolutionary thinking. The hugest pile of data, and it's stronger than anybody's hotshot credentials. Nick Stathis said, we should all do a video introduction so we can greet, not meet in Tiburon. And I said to myself, oh yeah. Because for you to get good telling a great story, you've first got to get good at telling your story great. It's not easy, is it? I mean, what story will you tell? How will you shape it? How will you compose it? What will you edit out? Who gives you useful feedback? Who gives you useless feedback? And now that you've done it and watched it, you can prepare for Tiburon. What more would you like to learn? Here's a hint. Like with everything else, we went far beyond the conventional and tired business thinking and examples. We went straight to the real sources for storytelling geniuses: comedians, songwriters, poets, screenwriters, novelists. Now, I'm going to tell you all we learned. But when I share those specifics, they're going to work 1,000 times better because you went through the grinder and you told us, everybody, your story. Great. Recording an introduction? Yeah. That prepares you for fortune. Okay, number 2. Ask 5 people to answer one question. Would you tell me some of your story? Start at the beginning. I was born in, and then listen. So you can tell us something that makes them unique, makes them special, makes them worth knowing. Everything you've heard and everything you've read that impressed you, thrilled you, motivated you from the Jennings body of work, everything came from stuff people told us. They told us their fears. They told us their challenges. They told us the tactics that work spectacularly. They told us the initiatives that failed disastrously. And that's everybody. The tightest-lipped CEOs, skeptical top executives, the I'm too busy famous, and the I'm not interesting to anyone unknowns. They all shared everything without self-censoring and in total candor. Now, why? Let me tell you a story. I came in late to the book Hit the Ground Running after they did the biggest round of the research identifying the best performing CEOs. And Jason had hit a wall. Only one of the 20 CEOs that he identified agreed to be interviewed. So he said, LH, what should we do? I thought about it, came up with a couple of ideas, went to work on the first one, and in 90 days, everybody was on board. How'd you do it? Jason asked. And I quoted Star Wars. Jedi mind trick. Do you remember the piece in Star Wars? Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, the 2 droids, they're entering a city and they're being stopped by the Imperial stormtroopers. And Obi-Wan reaches over towards the stormtroopers and goes, "You don't need to see our ID." The stormtrooper says, "We don't need to see their ID. These aren't the droids you're looking for. These aren't the droids we're looking for. They can go about their business. You can go about your business. Move on. Move on." But truly, getting all those CEOs on board was no Obi-Wan Kenobi magic. I just connected with people who were influential to our CEOs, and they helped me. They sold those reluctant bosses because I knew how to get their story, and getting their story got their trust. Day one is one thing. It's the one big thing, the one biggest thing that makes hiring the right people, negotiating a best deal, choosing the perfect partners, getting impossible to get access, growing revenues, creating demand. It makes it all happen because everything happens when you know how to do a discovery conversation. There are 5 building blocks to the successful discovery conversation, but the first building block is the one where everyone, over all the decades, That's where they got stuck. The first building block, get them talking. But I don't know what to ask. Give me a list. And then if you gave them some suggestions, they'd say, let me read from a list. Oh, they wouldn't open up. It's impossible. I forgot what they told me. It's so hard to remember things. I'm just going to quit trying. This is just too hard. We heard all the molehills, and we heard them turn them into mountains. Remember Bob Mueller? I can't let that happen to you. I can't let you stumble over molehills. You need to prove to yourself that it's so easy to get people talking. The one-question interview with 5 people, doesn't matter who, when you finish, I promise you will never fizzle out. You'll see that you don't need a list. You can't forget the right questions. You can't forget what they said. Robert Frost at one point said, "Nobody needs notes or takes notes in a love affair." You'll see that everyone will talk freely, and you'll get everyone to trust. Listen, I'm telling the truth. You ask Dan Charleston, ask Lawrence Brock, ask Nick Stathis. You see, because they've already done thousands of these kinds of discovery calls, and they'll tell you from the very beginning how easy it is once you learn how to get people talking. And when we are in Tiburon, I'll detail everything you want to know about steps 2 through 5. I'll give you the follow-up questions. I'll explain how you can quickly recover from any stumble, and you'll meet others who have been doing this for 30 years, and you're going to hear their stories, and you're going to hear their secrets to success, and you will be very, very prepared for fortune. Assignment 3. Each one, teach one. I think it was Paul Jensen. Was it you, Paul? Said the words, well, we could all prepare one topic. And when I heard that, I said, oh yeah. You see, for decades, we've been rediscovering the Stoics' truth. Men and women learn the most when they teach. That's how this third assignment prepares you for fortune. A couple of years back, I spent 12 months with a speaking and sales guru. And at one point, she said to me, I could take a room full of people who wanted to learn about orchids, a subject, by the way, I know nothing about, and with an hour of preparation, I could give a speech that convinces them I was a thought leader on the subject of orchids. I'm a natural. And I thought, why in the world would she want to? I mean, think about it. She's been given a room full of beautiful and trusting souls and thinks because she's so slick and such a charisma powerhouse that it's okay to deceive them? And she thinks, I should admire that? No. If you are to speak, write, and consult, you can't be like that. Not even a little bit. You can't be a fake. This is fundamental to our brand. We're not natural salespeople. We're not even really teachers. We're educators. We're leaders. Or again, as poet Robert Frost said, I'm no teacher, I'm an awakener. And awakeners aren't fake. They're authentic. We also learned early on, awakening meant we needed to make all knowledge our own. People get enthused as they read various contemporary, semi-famous people, and they start quoting them as if that's going to rub off on their brand, that they read a book and know someone else. But it doesn't work that way at all. Jason called it Jasonizing. And what he meant was taking the greatest stuff from everyone throughout history who educated him, and then improvising, and then adapting, discovering, embroidering until he made it his. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with all the information, all the data, all the learning points that we collected over all the years. But to begin all of that, you need to improve your skills by taking something and making it better, more impactful, more actionable, more you. And you need to be doing this while you are working hard to become more and more, like Gary Shandling said, Gary, becoming more and more yourself. We're striving for absolute authenticity, never a false note. Getting so comfortable in your own skin, feeling so powerful, knowing you have the exact solution, knowing that you have what the situation demands, and speaking and writing with confidence on camera and in person. Now, each of you is unique. I've learned this from my one-on-ones. By the way, some of you still owe me an appointment for a one-on-one, so let's get that done, huh? But for those of you that I talked to already, you know from my feedback that I noticed your strengths. I noticed your natural magnetism. I excel at noticing and helping people use their natural talents to engage. For years, Jason positioned me at the back of the room and asked me to watch and take notes. See, he wanted to connect better. He wanted to fix any distracting flaws. He wanted to make more of his natural talents. And he concluded that I was the best at helping do that. This Teach One presentation prepares you to stand head and shoulders taller than all the others competing for the world's attention. So, that's how the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th assignment, that's how each one of them prepares you for fortune. That helps, doesn't it? And there's one more secret. I'm going to record a special bonus episode, a short one, but very powerful. And you're going to love what you hear. I'll get back to you with it very soon. Thanks.